Good morning, everyone. How are you today? Well, the race baiting lefties have the palace by the balls. Let's get into it. It all started out with the incident at that charity luncheon where Lady Susan Hussey had a conversation with a woman named Marlene. That's right. That's her real name. Marlene changed her name a while ago to a very African sounding name to promote her charity, to promote herself. That's cultural appropriation. Yep. You can be black and still be engaged in cultural appropriation. That was on purpose to promote herself as this black woman. So she goes to this event. She's invited to this event. She shows up in a flamboyant African culture outfit and her hair all done up in that way. Interesting. I mean, when you go to the palace for one thing on an event like that, there is sort of a dress code. You want to dress appropriately. And I'm not saying she wasn't dressed appropriately, but she was obviously trying to put out there, look at me, I'm a big black woman with my outfit and my hair. Come to Susan Hussey, who's in her 80s. Chances are, she her job there was to make small talk. So she goes up to this woman, oh hi, what charity you're with? What's your name? Who are you? Where are you from? The woman said, oh, I'm from England. I'm British. Well, now, where are you from? You see somebody in an outfit dolled up like that, it's interesting. You might be curious. You might want to find, that's a very interesting outfit. Does it represent your culture? Where are you from? Those aren't racist questions. That's curiosity. But this woman, Marlene, I'm not even going to use her fake African name because, she doesn't need any advertising from me. So, anyway, she says, I'm British. I'm from London or wherever. She knew Lady Hussey's intent was not racist. She knew it was a curiosity, and she knew that coming to an event dressed that way would raise curiosity. So she stood up to her and oh, I'm so offended. Never been so insulted. It was an interrogation. That's what you call race baiting, folks. She was there with an agenda. And if you look into her association, her friends, she's got ties that go all the way back to Meghan Markle through association. That's right. This was a setup. She was there to stir up some trouble, and she certainly did. Raised a whole heap of accusations against the palace and against Lady Susan Hussey. Oh, I was interrogated. It was racial. She's a racist. So what does the palace do? Charles and William, far too prematurely and absolutely stupidly, jump out, big apology to this woman, They relieve Susan Hussey as her position as a companion to Camilla. They just, oh, somebody called her a racist. We get rid of her right away. So now, what's happened just the other day, and it was in the Daily Mail, the Palace held a little meeting between Lady Susan Hussey and this Marlene, I'm a race baiter African charity boss. And Susan Hussey had to apologize to her for the offense and the hurt she caused her. Such bullshit. You can't imagine. And the Palace is so blinded, they don't know what's really going on. I'd have thought William would have had more sense and could have seen through this. The woke agenda, the racial agenda. These are all social engineering agendas to push things in a certain direction, and that's what happens. That's what's really happening. And don't you know now that, they called out Susan Hussey as a racist. The Palace fires her, arranges this meeting. Susan has to apologize. Bullshit. It's terrible. It's appalling, this behavior out of the Palace. And it's appalling that they're not smart enough to see what's going on. So, of course, this gives all kinds of fuel to Meghan, the biggest race baiter of all time. Now, her and Harry, don't you know, they want an apology from the Palace. So what's Charles gonna do? What's Charles gonna do? This black woman charity boss person that we never knew before she came into the Palace, and we'll fire people and stoop to apologize to her for some hurt we caused her. But we won't apologize to our own family? Meghan and Harry don't deserve an apology, and neither did Marlene. But that doesn't matter to the wokies. Once you get taken in by the woke agenda, there's no getting out. You can't win. You can't win. Because no matter what you do, it's never going to be enough. No matter what you say, it's never going to be enough. And that's exactly how Meghan is, and that's how the woke culture is. People getting cancelled, people getting race baited, people getting called out for... it's absolute stupidity, and the fact that the Palace is bought into this, it's not going to do them any good. It's causing so much harm, so much damage, because they're in a battle you can't win. You can't negotiate with crazy people. You can't reason with crazy people. And this is the situation that they face themselves now. Meghan and Harry want an apology. If they don't get one, that's more fuel for them to spout their crap. And facts don't matter. That's been proven. Facts don't matter. They can say whatever they want. Between the Oprah interview and all the other interviews they've done, this Netflix, the podcast, pick any event. The story's changed half a dozen times, and they don't care. It's their truth at the time, and everybody's just supposed to accept it. And if you don't, well, you're a racist. That's what it's all about. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. You can't fight the wokies. And now I mentioned social conditioning, and this is very important to this story because look at what's happening to our culture now. You've got all these racial issues. You've got things like racial appropriation. Oh my gosh. You know, even Adele was called out for putting braids in her hair on, I don't know, National Bahamas Day or something as cultural appropriation. When you get that silly, how can you argue against it? I mean, it's just. So what do? You give in? What do? Do you give in? Same thing with the alphabet people. LGBTQ2S plus whatever the hell. They can make up their pronouns. They can make up their gender. They can be fluid gender. One day I feel like a woman, the next day I feel like a man. I identify as a llama. That's my spirit animal. I mean, these people are crazy. And you go into this whole thing, 0.02% of the population has identified as one of these kind of groups, let's say. So why is it there's 40 shows on TV that feature drag queens? Why do they want drag queens in libraries and in primary schools and teaching children? It's the woke agenda, folks. That's social conditioning. Something which doesn't affect and shouldn't affect 99.9% of the population is being pushed by the media, being pushed by the government. To make us feel, to normalize these kind of things, to shift culture. And we're all caught in the middle. And there's a lot of young, very impressionable, liberal, lefty, wokey youth that think they're going to save the world by protesting oil and gluing themselves to highways. They're idiots. Now, how do you combat that? You get the cops out, you pull them off the highway, and you throw them in jail. But no, what happens in Britain? The cops go out, they see them gluing, they stop traffic. People can't get to work. People can't get to the hospital. People, they absolutely roadblock everything, and the cops stand around and talk to them, and are you okay? Charles has even come out and said, yeah, I can understand why they're doing it. Climate change, another social engineering project. Indeed it is. He's come out in defense of these idiots, saying, I can understand. We're at the precipice of the world being destroyed. And these kids are, they're strong and they're protesting and they want to change the world, and I applaud them. Oh, sure, just stop oil. Well, look what's happening. They want you to drive electric cars. They have, here in Canada anyway, which we are just flush with oil and natural gas. Trudeau's made it almost impossible for those kinds of things to function the way they should, those industries, because it's all about climate change, don't you know? It's an agenda, folks. And one of these days, here's Charles. He's the woke guy. He's got a car that runs on excess wine and excess cheese from his estates. Given the state of the economy now, who the hell has excess wine and cheese? Charles does. That's right. Because he's a very, very rich man. Do you think he's worried about if they put moratoriums on how much energy you can use, when you can drive, where you can drive, what setting your thermostat has to be at? Yeah, smart meters. There you go. That's another part, another piece. Charles doesn't care because it's not going to affect his life. He's not going to have to close off a wing of the palace because he can't afford to heat it. One day, and he's tried to play into this whole woke culture to appease the masses, but you never can. You never will. So the whole climate change agenda him and William are pushing, this whole given into race baiting crap that's going on. One of these days, these little wokies who find offense in everything, one of the days maybe they're going to figure out, Charles talks a good game, but he's living in his palace, he's flying around in his private jets, he's got all the money and we've got nothing, and we want him to do something, and now he said he was for climate initiatives. He said he was for racial equality. But now we want something else out of him. And where's his voice? He's not speaking for us anymore. They'll turn on him. They will. You can't win against the wokies. You can't win against the crazies. The minute this incident happened at the palace with Lady Susan Hussey and Marlene, the palace should have immediately investigated what's going on. Even before it happened, and from here on out, they're going to have to really vet who they allow into that inner circle, because they'll be invaded. It's not going to stop. Charles's hands are tied. He's buggered. If he keeps apologizing, shows his weakness. If he stands up to them and says, no, this is wrong. Susan Hussey did nothing wrong. This was race baiting. If he called it out, he'd get backlash. Because he let them in and he embraced them, and they could take him down. The palace has got to get tough. The palace has got to stop being stomped on. I tell you, if they took a strong stance against all of this crap, and if they take a strong stance against Meghan and Harry, which they have to do, they get a little bit of backlash, but overall, the public, the press, the government, the Commonwealth, all of whom she's offended, will stand by him for being strong. I'm afraid he's not going to do that. Meghan and Harry aren't going to quit. The race baiters now that they know that they got him once, they can get him again. It's not going to end. And William is the only hope. But William's tied up in all this crap too. But maybe he's got the strength to see through it, to see what's really going on, and to see how dangerous it is for the monarchy to be engaged in this kind of stuff. William's going to have to take a stance, and he's going to have to take a hard line and make big decisions. Just stand up and say, we're not going to take this shit anymore. You're done. We'll see what happens. But for the time being, the race baiters have the pillows tied in knots. And as long as that's happening, Meghan and Harry are going to take full advantage of the situation. Well, I'd like to hear your comments on this. Let's start a conversation. Like and subscribe. Share these videos with your friends and family if you think they'd enjoy them. And I'd really like to thank all my new subscribers. I'm just a little channel, but we're growing slowly. And a few more of you jumped on ship here just the other day. Welcome in. Let's keep this going and let it grow, and let's learn and talk and discover what's really going on. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.